Hey everybody, movie reviewer next door here, back with another review. This time, I saw Desperado. This is a 1995 action western film directed by Robert Rodriguez that stars Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek, Joaquim de Almeida, Steve Buscemi, Cheech Marin, and Quentin Tarantino. In this film, Mariachi plunges headfirst into the dark border underworld when he follows the trail of blood to the last of the infamous Mexican drug lords Bucho for an action-packed, bullet-riddled showdown. With the help of his best friend and a beautiful bookstore owner, the Mariachi tracks Bucho, takes on his army of desperados, and leaves a trail of blood of his own. So, what did I think of Desperado? Well, I think it is a big improvement from El Mariachi, and I had a lot of fun with it. Um, Again, not perfect. There are some things that I would change that do hamper this a tiny bit from being a all-out classic for me, but I did still really enjoy it, and I would definitely watch this film again at some point. Let me get to the cast. Antonio Banderas plays El Mariachi. I think he absolutely kills this role. He is a perfect change from Carlos Gallardo, who I thought still did a good job in El Mariachi. But Antonio Banderas knows how to play the badass, he knows how to play the sexy, the mysterious, and I love his performance in this to death. Um, Salma Hayek plays Carolina. She's a bookkeeper or a bookstore owner that helps him out after he's injured. I've always loved Salma Hayek in films. I think this was her big breakout role, and I can see why. She's very sexy. She's very um, a fun character that who actually does save our main character's life a couple times, more than a few times. So very well-rounded character as well. And Salma Hayek just plays it very well. Joaquim de Almeida plays Bucho, who is the drug lord. Um, I like him quite a bit more than Peter Marquardt in El Mariachi. I think he's an upgrade as a villain. Joaquim is a very talented actor. He knows what to do with the material. Has some funny moments even. Steve Buscemi plays Buscemi, fun, creatively named, who's El Mariachi's friend. I like Steve Buscemi. He's basically just playing Steve Buscemi in this, but he's still a lot of fun. Cheech Marin plays short bartender. Um, he's one of El Mariachi's first victims in this film, but Cheech Marin still really fun, interesting character. And Quentin Tarantino plays pickup guy. He's kind of a extended cameo, but he does get a pretty funny joke. And yeah, but here's the thing with this film. It's kind of in a way a soft remake of El Mariachi in a way, but it's also a sequel because it does acknowledge that the events of the first film took place, but instead of Carlos Gallardo as El Mariachi, it's Antonio Banderas. And there's even a flashback scene where they recreate uh, him getting shot by the boss from the last film in the hand with Antonio Banderas and all the actors from the first movie, which is cool. I thought that was a really nice touch, even though a lot of people in theaters who probably saw Desperado didn't even know El Mariachi was a thing. You don't really have to have seen El Mariachi to get the story of this film. It's just there's some flashes to what happened to Mariachi and some references that it's more of a like, ooh, cool Easter egg, and I'm okay with that because maybe not a lot of people saw a Spanish movie, but I think this improves on it in almost every way. Again, this is a movie with more of a budget. Still not a huge budget for the time, 7 million, but it's a far cry bigger. It's a quite a bit bigger than the 7,000 that he was working with originally. But even then, again, Antonio Banderas, perfect casting for this. Apparently, a lot of people now there's a few people on Letterboxd that are like, I can't buy him as Mexican. Like, does he really have to be Mexican? Is him being Hispanic not enough? Didn't really bother me. Um, but the action is really impactful, really nice sound design, really nice choreography, a lot of really cool shots. There's this bit where he gets on top of the bar and the camera's like slowly panning with him as he's like walking across all cool, shooting at them and shit. Lots of nice like jumping over tables and shooting at people, very John Woo inspired. Um, very bloody, very graphic, exactly what I like to see in this types of movies. Um, the frickin' just I remembered this having less action than it had, but and I'm glad that I was proved wrong about that because I was like, oh, I remember there not being a ton of action, but there's a decent amount of action in this. Um, but yeah, just a lot of really fun moments in this film. Like the first film had a couple bits that I was like, okay, that's kind of fun, but it was really nice to actually see a movie that felt like a movie. Because El Mariachi, again, while I can understand its roots, I can understand its place in film history, I still don't see it as a good movie. And it's hampered by, again, the minuscule budget, but also just some really weird stuff with the plot and how slow it is. Like, even though it's 81 minutes, it felt slow. It's a slow-paced movie. Some people argue it's an art house thing. I 100% disagree on that. That seems like a weird way to go with that. But yeah. With again with this, I will say that the plot isn't exactly like anything new. Again, it is kind of your stereotypical like Western revenge movie plot. And part of my issue with the plot is that it, excuse me, it does kind of retcon some things because at the end of the first film, uh, this isn't really a spoiler. It's literally in the very beginning of this film. Um, our main character gets revenge on the guy that literally just killed his girlfriend or the girl that he was in love with. So it seems kind of weird for in this film to be like, oh, he's still getting revenge against these other drug lords, which that was never alluded to in the end of El Mariachi. He just like kind of drove off with his hand like haphazardly bandaged, and they really don't mention anything about other drug lords. And now all of a sudden he's been going through all of these drug lords and trying to find this last one. It is kind of pulling it out of their ass. I'd say that was mostly done because Robert Rodriguez was like, yeah, maybe a lot of people didn't watch El Mariachi. And again, you don't really have to watch it to understand this film and its plot, but it's it I mean, it's whatever. It's not a huge deal. But um another thing, this film sticks a bit too close to the original story a bit in a way. Like a lot of the plot beats are very similar. It's basically an American remake of El Mariachi. But again, a remake where I think everything is improved, but um still like the whole thing of the girl helping him out, uh giving him out giving him a place to stay. Uh It's not it's not a case of mistaken identity, but that does kind of come into play because Danny Trejo's character is mistaken for the killer as well. Um, there's a weird thing. Uh, well, I mean, there's the bar scene that's there at the beginning. Steve Buscemi walks into the bar and everybody's looking at him. Exactly how it was in El Mariachi when the mariachi walked into the bar and everybody was looking at him. Very similar. I'd say, I guess those are like references or nods if you've seen El Mariachi, but still, I guess my biggest issue with this film overall would be the final confrontation between El Mariachi and the drug lord because there's a really weird revelation. And I, I kind it's not even a twist. It turns out they're brothers or something, which was never alluded to. Just that he tries to kill the drug lord at one point, and then he just doesn't because he recognizes him, I guess, because he didn't know what he looked like. And it was just kind of shoehorned in there, and it didn't feel like it needed to be there. It kind of felt like thrown in, and their final battle is really nothing. It's just Salma Hayek's about to get shot, and then he like shoots back at him, like, and it's a freeze frame, and then it's just like, oh, that's it. You don't get like a final battle. So I guess that was the biggest disappointing part, but overall, I'd still say this is a pretty good, pretty great action film. Very acrobatic action. I like kinetic action where the actors are actually like kind of flying around, jumping around and shit. Um, it's very impressive. Um, you don't have movies like this nowadays that are just like, a fun action movie with interesting characters. Even the damsel in distress is an interesting character who again saves our main character's life like 4 or 5 different times. Like, you know what? Write more female characters like her. Like not passive but not offensive. Like that makes it a bit more interesting. But yeah, not exactly a lot I could say about it, but still, I definitely recommend it. And yep. Um, oh, yeah, the score by Los Lobos, I really enjoyed. Uh, I thought it was gorgeous, and a lot of times it fits very well with what's going on. But yeah, that was my review of Desperado. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, but as well. And movie reviewer next door.